We are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
Dummy. Conspiracy dummy.
Hey, welcome to Conspiracy Dummy, the conspiracy podcast where we have giants stand on our shoulders. I am your host, Double D. Joining me on the podcast, we have the homie of mysteries, Mr. Williams.
What's up? What's up? I'm glad to be back.
Hell yeah, bro. Tell me what you got going on, man. Tell us about that new podcast.
Oh, dude, I don't know if you've heard, but all the kids are talking about it. It's number one on all the charts. I mean, we're giving everybody a run for their money here, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Here for Today. We just recorded our first episode. It's gonna drop. It's gonna drop here soon. It's just, we love conspiracies. We'll never not do Conspiracy Dummy. We just kind of wanted to start something new, start something fresh, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Sometimes you gotta add some light with the dark. So we wanted to lighten it up a little bit and start this podcast called Here for Today. It's just kind of a loose. We talk, like, for instance, we talked today about traveling. We'll have some other loose topics that we'll kind of speak about, maybe quandaries you have in life, relationships, things like this. Just whatever. It's we're not really tied down to any topic in particular, whether it's arts, movies, you
name it. Anything.
Space, anal bleaching, you name it.
Anything goes.
We're about that action.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get into giants today, man. What do you know about giants, homie?
Aside from the one hanging between my legs. Hey-oh! There she is. There she is. Paul Bunyan, Andre the Giant, of course, probably one of the most famous giants, let's be honest. The Beanstalk Giant, isn't there a Beanstalk Giant?
Jack and the Beanstalk, yep.
Who else? We got Attack of the Titan Giant. We got Bigfoot. He's kind of a giant, I guess.
Yeah.
Do we have any ancient giants?
David and Goliath.
Yeah. Okay. Goliath.
Or just Goliath.
Yeah. Goliath was like 5'8", but okay. Well, for those times, yeah.
Oh, yeah. People back then were like 3
yeah, they're
foot.
tiny.
We're talking about Middle Earth here, man.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Yep. Also joining us on the podcast, an old friend of mine, soon to be a new friend of yours, Mr. Mike Poblano. What's up, homie?
What up, dude? How's it going?
Yeah. How you been, man? How's everything going?
Delicious, dude.
Delicious. Well, me and Mike, man, we were chopping it up the other day on the phone, and this dude was going a mile a minute on all this crazy topics, dude, and cool information and shit. So I was like, fuck. And one of them was about giants. And I was like, dude, stop right there. I got to get you on the podcast. We got to talk about giants. Either go big or go home. We got to do this. So, Mike, man, what's up, man? Do you have anything you want to plug or promote?
If you want to see what I'm working on, by next week I should have some stuff up of the machine. You can go to Parasight420. That's Parasight 420. Parasight420.
That's what's up. Blaze up. Tell me what you're working on, homie.
Well, I don't know if it has a name. Like, I looked all over the internet, and the closest thing I could find to it was something the CIA made for brainwave entrainment.
Damn.
Like, they have, like, if you go to the CIA website, they have all these badass, like, pieces of equipment that they made for, I think it was Project Stargate or something.
Yeah, I heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Tesla type, magnetic sound kind of things. And yeah, man, just like really weird stuff. And I was like, well, I'm really into 369, like the Nikola Tesla thing, right?
Yeah.
So I bought this box. The box itself is 6 feet, but the other parts that would make it, 6 feet is basically 7 plus 2. That's 72 inches.
Uh-huh.
That, of course, equals 9. So there's, 6 in the feet and 9 in the inches part. So I try to make it with the harmonics of 3, 6, and 9. It turns out that like they were actually like, hold on, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I measured it. It's not that. They're like, oh, we count the pellet too. I was like, you bastard.
And what is this? Like, what is it that you're making? What is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, my bad, man. I go crazy divergent and get onto the technical aspects of it. It's really intricate. I didn't understand how intricate it was.
It sounds intricate as fuck.
So somebody fucking I tried to explain to somebody. They're like, what? And I was like, yeah, man. Fuck. Like, I tried to show them like this, and I tried to show them, and it's basically a box. It's about 2 feet across. No, it is 2 feet across, and 6 feet up and down. I don't know length, width, and height, but whatever it is from the top to the bottom height, I guess.
Uh-huh.
It's like it's not what it's supposed to be or what I want it to, but it works. It works, and I'm gonna paint the hell out of it with this magnetic primer, and then I'm gonna attach in and out with a magnetic primer, and then I'm gonna attach these electromagnets to the side of all sides. So I'll get not only north, south, east, and west, but I'm going to have one for the top, too, if I want to. I think it's supposed to be used outside. The thing is, I don't know where the hell I get the information to build this shit.
What?
I don't know.
Dude, it's like Tesla, bro.
I don't know.
Something's just like,
bro,
you're channeling something, bro. Something's coming into you.
Dude,
like...
I have not. I'm like, and the funny thing is, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm like, first off, if I knew what I was building, I would, how many times I get asked, well, what does it do? What does it do? You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, I don't even know what it does. It could do fucking, like, it could heal the whole body. It could transport you through time. It could, end up flying by disturbing the electromagnetic, gravitational field of the Earth if it hits the resonant frequency. There's a million, well, not a million, but like there's a bunch of things it could do.
You know what it sounds like?
I just don't know what it could do. What I'm trying to do. Oh, go ahead.
It sounds like if you can do whatever you want. I don't know if you've seen that imagination box from SpongeBob where they get in the box and they climb Everest and they can do all this crazy shit. What it sounds like. It sounds like some interdimensional crazy shit you're working on over there.
I want to call it an interdimensional resonator because I have LEDs inside. It would be totally black. I'm doing it partially for pineal gland activation because your pineal gland activates in the dark. And I think like the ancient, like old ones, quote unquote, I think they were able to see with the pineal gland, and you'd be like, well, how the hell can somebody see in the dark? It's like, well, have you ever, used a black light?
So is this kind of, in essence, is this kind of like a sensory deprivation sort of?
Well, kind of. There are lights inside, but each light will correspond to whatever chakra you want activated, and then you'd have to tune the frequency of the vibration modules, as I call them, or whatever the hell they are. You'd have to tune them to whatever frequency. Now, typically, you want 2 sets of vibrations, 2 oscillating vibrations. Well, typically, you want 3. That would be awesome. But most things only come with output, like 2 outputs. But you get good resonance frequency with that, and that works very well for this dimension. If you have 3, it works extremely well for another dimension. And the way you can think of that is you have 1 point, 1 dimension. You have that point connected to another one. It's 2-dimensional, right? It connects to like a triangle or some shit like that. But then you want a 3-dimensional, it has to be a tetrahedron. So I think this thing that I'm making gets you to dimension 3.1. That's like, I talk to myself all the time and then I answer my own questions. Funny enough, a lot of them are right. And I just keep on getting 3.1, 3.1, and a fucking tetrahedron, 3.1. That's it. Like a tetrahedron and 3.1, which I'm guessing would be a pyramid because it's another side to the same dimensional shape of geometry.
Huh. Man, dude, you're going to be opening up some dimensions, bro. And
Good.
I feel like you're going to open up like Pan's Labyrinth. There's going to be monsters with eyes on their palms.
And that's when the giants are going to come walking in through, bro.
Yeah.
They're going to come back.
Dude, you're going to open up the gate of Anunnaki. We're all going to be fucked, dude.
Yeah, you guys have heard the stories, right? So it's like, I think it's in, I forgot where they have it. It's
the Rockwell
giant
newspaper?
gate.
The Giant?
No, it's like the state, the Gate of the Giants or something like that.
Is it
like,
in South America? South America? Yeah, I heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that thing, I think what they did is, I was looking at the blocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, the way it works is, okay, if there were giants, of course they'd be able to build them. Absolutely. And the thing that, you go in, well, if they were that smart to know how to do stuff, which I think they use, they knew how to use the earth. Like, there's supposedly this one thing you can do. I saw videos on it, but I don't know how legit it is, but I understand what the guy was talking about.
Yeah.
Is he's able to focus his chi and make it fucking explode through his fingers. And I was like, well, that would explain why Bruce Lee's punch, like, was it 1 inch punch?
The 1 inch punch, yeah.
Like, yeah, because the guy, the practitioner of it, said it could be deadly. Like, I saw a dude light, like, fucking paper on fire, dude, just using his hand. Like, and it was legitimately, like, he was, like, supposedly a master or some shit like that. But he's like, it's very dangerous. If you don't know how to control your emotions, he's like, it can be very dangerous. And I was like, well, fuck. And he said he specifically said you use your lower chakra. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, fuck, man, how do ghosts move things technically? You know what I mean? They'd have to generate some sort of energy. What if you still have your chakras when you're dead? And that's what, causes your karma or some shit before you're reborn. Like, that's the weird stuff that my brain automatically makes connections like that. They just like, oh, you want that question answered? Here's another one, asshole. And then it'll throw another one at me. But, like, I've done paranormal investigating, all this stuff, dude. I've ever since, like, I was a kid. Like, I've had experience with ghosts and shit. So. But, yeah, the Giants, like, themselves, I don't know when they were here, but I can tell you it was sometime either around, like, the Hindu period.
Yeah,
I guess they call it Veda period. It was some kind of one of those, like, yagas? Jana? I forget what it's called.
Vimanas?
Yaga? No, that's a flying machine. Funny enough, if you look at the diagram of a Tesla coil, it looks like a Vimana.
I know, it's
it
crazy.
has that same.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it looks.
Well, I'm sure in the Mahabharata, I swear I've heard tales of like giant people or
the Bhagavad Gita.
Robots.
Yeah. Well, in Hindu, they got the was it Kumbhara Karna, the giants of appetite?
No.
Huh?
Well, like, which one?
I don't know. It's a Hindu god. I guess he was a giant too. So I was looking into it too, man. There's giants all over the place. Like everywhere around the world, there's stories of giants, man.
Like I come from
fucking crazy.
I come from a town called Rockwall, Texas, and in Rockwall, Texas, they excavated this area, and they were trying to. Long story short, a TV show came. Discovery came. They were trying to do some piece on the rock wall of Rockwall, hence the name of the city. And they uncovered this, for lack of a better term, a tomb situation or a underground subterranean living quarters with these beds. Everything was of gigantic proportion. I mean, beds were like 12 feet long. They had these giant benches. Like everything was in proportion. It wasn't just like, oh, that's a... weirdly, everything was in giant proportion. Mm-hmm. And they found, like, footprints. I think they found, like, a giant femur or something like that.
Everything's bigger in Texas. You're right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and even in Plano, dude, we're not that far from Plano right here. And I was reading into it the other day, too, that they found mounds here in Plano. And then I remember you were telling me the other day, Mike, about mounds and mountains. Can you tell me more about that, about giants?
Which one?
About the, like, mountains and, like, the mounds they find. And I guess...
So... Like, there were these people that were like, they were trying to convince, and I'm like, I thought they were flat earthers and shit, dude. And they were like, oh, well, the giants made the mountains. I'm like, you idiot. They're like, those are tectonic plates that hit, like, I'm fucking smart as shit. You're dumb. I was thinking, and then, like, somebody, like, they put a YouTube video up, and I was like, just for the fuck of it, whatever. So I just put it on. I was watching it, and I'm like, they had a shitload of them that looked like the skulls, the fallen shit. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense because it would decay. They're like, well, not if it's fossilized. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of true. And then I'm like, well, at the same time, that would turn them to rock. And with water erosion, that would make them jagged.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Man.
And then I was thinking of other stuff. It showed this picture. You remember Close Encounters, that giant thing looks like a mountain?
Yes, yes.
Okay, check this out. Where the hell was it? Do you think the tectonic plates would just shift right there?
Mm.
Yeah. They say that that's a petrified stump.
Isn't it true that in some certain areas, countries, things like this, for instance, these giant mound, just there will be a random area, everything's flat, and then there'll just be 3 or 2 or maybe a singular, mound, a big mound. I've heard that could possibly be a burial ground for a giant.
That's what he was saying. Yeah.
Oh.
Like mountains.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like in Sardinia, there's a bunch of those things. Well, and here's the thing too: you have different giants. Like they're like saying like, okay, it wasn't just like, oh, we're their giant people.
Oh,
Dude,
there
were
was a
giant
few.
people.
I mean, the Nephilim,
They were
Andre.
giant, like 40 feet. I'm talking like 40 feet, maybe
40
even
feet.
like 40 feet, 50 feet. And then I was thinking too, like, well, how the hell would they? Well, that wouldn't work because of gravity. It doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like they'd fall over. And then I saw these sculptures of some like pre-Columbian places in Peru and like Ecuador, and they had these, and they're these peoples, right?
Yeah.
And weird, like it's Asian, like, well, I don't know, Asian, I guess, like, but with a third eye, like a Bindi third eye, like, thing on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell's doing that? That doing in South America? Yeah. And I was looking at a lot of the sculptures, and it's funny because they have these really short legs and really robust, tall upper,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? That would work with gravity because you have to have a base that's wider than, like you can run with a flower pot with a plant, but you can't run with a plant on a flower pot. It would be too awkward.
Yeah.
As far as gravity goes. And that's how it is with them. Like they have a lower center of gravity. Like towards the bottom, they're more like kind of like stocky and shorter legs.
Yeah.
So they can like control stuff. Because if they had longer legs, and that supports the whole thing with these things that had giant heads. They're like, well, why were the bones so big? You need that kind of robustness in the bones to be able to have the energy, to be able to have the hold and strength to stop all the energy.
Everything should be all proportional itself.
Yeah, that's because on
Yeah,
scale,
exactly, to the science of wherever they live.
Right.
So that would trip me out.
Yeah, because the scale of a modern human being like ourselves, like
we'll use me for instance, 6'4", dashingly handsome, 205.
Nah, but like,
listen here, man.
But like people who have gigantism, like there's defects within them. You know what I mean? They're like abnormalities or something like that.
It's in the DNA.
Yeah. So, but these giants that he was talking about, like 50 feet, you know what I mean? That's something else. That's like a whole thing up its own. I don't even think it may be human or whatever.
No, yeah,
like
a lot of that stuff's supposed to be tales of like that's what the Nephilim is. The Nephilim is supposed to be where somebody came down.
No, it's the
Anunnaki.
It's the sons of God came and banged the daughters of man.
Anunnaki made the Nephilim.
Yeah, the Anunnaki came down, started banging hot earth chicks. They made the Nephilim. Shape-shifting Jesus said, "I'm not about that action." He came. Abraxas was like, "Go ham." He went down. Shape-shifting Jesus opened up a can of whoop ass on all the archons, including the Anunnaki and the Nephilim, and wiped them all out.
Hey, bro, but I call bullshit on that, bro. Think about it. A woman giving birth to a fucking giant. That, man, you're talking about some loose women, bro.
I mean, it just depends.
No. Look, that's why it grows up like that with the fucking weird legs and shit.
Ah, okay.
Like, it's part fucking human. When they say, oh, we can't find the fucking genetic link. Well, no shit, dumbass, because you're fucking not taking the different races and getting it's like pieces of a puzzle. Someone threw fucking puzzles on all the continents and probably fucking Antarctica because that shit was above ice before. You know? I'm pretty sure when that shit melts, they're going to be finding some fucked up shit.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Like,
fuck.
And you got to think about, like, all these monoliths and mega structures around the world, dude. Like, it makes sense. Giants. Like, who else fucking build them? Like, everybody's right here all puzzled and shit. Like, how do we build these things and shit? Fucking giants, dude. They're everywhere.
Check it out. Like, somebody had proposed a thing. It's like, well, they poured it. And it's like, well, yeah, but no, it doesn't really work like that. But if they had a way of making the stone soft it could have set in where it needed to set, like a Jello mold.
Well, that's no, but hold on, I hear you. But when we're talking about back in those times specifically, there was no technology available to heat rock up
That
to
we
make
know
it
of.
that malleable that we know of to
They had
make rock that
magnetism.
malleable to that way you can form it and shape it into
What?
these really tight, Tetris type of
They
situations.
they had magnetism. I know that for a fact. They had magnetism. If they had magnetism, they could create a generator that could actually vibrate something enough to where it hits the resonant frequency instead of exploding it, make it malleable. Glass will explode. I don't know what the fuck rock will do. I'm assuming rock fucking kind of gets loose,
Vitrified.
like Hutchinson effect style.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
vitrified.
Vitrified. Yeah.
Yeah, vitrified.
Yeah, kind of, and that's what they say. Like a lot of them, is like, oh well, it's very, very smooth. The only way, like, you can't even fucking cut glass. There's no way, even with a laser. You know what I mean?
Well, and just to piggyback on the transportation topic very quickly, one thing that I've always heard of, regarding how do you transport these large things, just real quickly as an example, as two examples, Stonehenge, for instance, I heard that there's, stories how Merlin, transported through his wizardry the stones over, the Blarney stones and all that from the quarry 250 miles away. And then also there's technology now that they use. They use this kind of
Harmonics?
harmonic technology to kind of, in essence, levitate,
Levitate it, yeah.
raise items up. And there's stories of how they kind of what you're saying, manipulated certain
Acoustic levitation.
wavelengths and frequencies.
That's what Mike's building, bro.
Yeah,
he's
to
building,
raise that.
he's building shit like that. Yeah.
Be careful over there, Doc.
Yeah,
Jesus
when you
Christ.
start to hit frequencies that resonate with other things, harmonic, weird shit starts to happen.
Like you shit your pants, the
Like-
brown note? Have you ever heard of the brown note?
Dude, you know what? There is a signal that controls your sphincter to open and close. So somebody managed to make a
That's
signal
what he's
go
doing.
through and hit that
You should play that
with
shit.
some kind of electromagnetism. Absolutely.
I should play this now, dude, so all the listeners can just shit their pants at that moment. Shit. Yeah, man, that's interesting as fuck. But yeah, but pyramids. Okay, I know when you're talking about the rock formations, like the walls and people build back, like the Incas, right? But pyramids, stacking things on top of each other.
But the other thing, but
Well,
look, hold on. To play
they-
devil's advocate for 1 second regarding the pyramids specifically, I don't think a lot of people take into account how long the pyramids took, or that they took quote unquote
They've
to
been
build. They
They've
take.
been here forever.
Well, I know they've been here for. Well, the Sphinx like outdates the pyramids or some shit or something crazy, or was a lion's head.
I'm pretty sure. I think the pyramid itself was here before. Like, the way it works is, you have to think about it this way. The alignment of the pyramid is different than it was. It was, like, 12 fucking thousand years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, like, pointing towards Osiris or Orion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, before that, what else did they have? Where else? That's how you're going to find out what came first and what came next and who had what technology for what, comparing the art. Find out where... Well, technically, the pyramids are 30 by 30, but longitude and latitude, about. So I was thinking, well, if you take where the Earth's giant fissures are, right, and you try to put the whole globe together, I don't think the Earth's expanding. And I think it's opening up and spreading everything closer together, because there's no way all these fucking things in a giant Pangea land would have fit on one side of the globe. You know what I mean? It would
Yeah.
have to have been all around it. So I think that there was a land that stretched fucking the whole way around, and as the Earth expanded and moved and shit, when you move something to get like a little extra vortex out of, like pushing somebody on a swing,
Mm-hmm.
that precessional fucking shit, and it shifts the Earth, and I think it grows when it does that, and I think it spun everything out. So I think it's actually expanding, but they say the universe is ever expanding. So, it's weird because we can't see the Earth and we can't see what it was like before. But if you can place where it was at before, then you have a good chance of finding what was when, because you'll more than likely find a structure that was facing whatever star system at the time or whatever polar star, like one of the shafts of the pyramid.
The question is, do you guys think giants built the pyramids?
It's hard to say. I mean, with any definitive, I just want to touch on very quickly on what kind of he had mentioned. There's a lot of civilizations. I can't sit here and I'm no Phi Beta Kappa. I can't sit here and list and rattle off all the times and the people and the this and the that. But all I know is that there is an absolute correlation between the alignment of a lot of these structures globally to the constellations that were in those areas at those times, which I find very interesting, and they've done more in-depth studies as far as the engineering and the mathematics that it would take to accomplish some of these feats from an astrological standpoint and an architectural standpoint as well. So I find that not only to be very impressive, but just that simple notion alone that there seems to be a correlation regarding how they viewed the stars and what they were basically trying to say, and that just all the light pollution. I just wish we could see more stars today, but I think he really hit a note.
There's
there.
a giant in the sky, bro. Orion. He was a giant.
I mean, Abraxas, he's up there. He's up there, man, looking down on us right now.
And
the thing is, too, is I have this giant 10 by 10 foot pyramid, and like it's a copper one, right? It's like the outer structure, yeah.
Yeah.
And I finally figured out what I'm supposed to do to hook this thing, the box, up to it, because I was like, okay, so I had to go in and reconstruct everything in the pyramid into now technology and not using the earth technology and the fucking stones or piezoelectric pipe. I had to get like piezoelectric diaphragms, and those are going to go on and off at the frequency that's being vibrated while you're in the thing. So the frequency is being vibrated by the quartz crystal, and current is either going to be amped up or used regularly while put to the actual frame structure of the pyramid. And I'm going to 3D print a bunch of these wood, I guess, panels for him, like triangular wood panels, and then be able to put it on the pyramid itself, hook those up with a magnetic paint so that shit gets charged too. Because the paint contains iron filing.
You should hook me up with some of those crystals, bro. I'm trying to get spiritual over here.
Hey, man, fucking, I got a bunch of them, bro.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I was one of those dudes that'd be like, what the fuck does a crystal do? That's the stupidest fucking, how get, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, fucking, I'm like, that's stupid. And then I started learning, like, holy shit, no. Like, this thing's actually, like, atoms, you know what I mean? And like, particles, just, like, in movement. I'm all, technically, it's alive, even though it's dead. I'm all, it's energy, you know?
There's three things I know about crystal, okay? Number one, don't smoke it. Number two, it's cool to collect. And number three, don't date it. Okay?
Any crystals.
Yeah. Any crystals.
Yeah,
Any crystals. That's my...
Yeah, no.
And the more you learn.
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Yeah, but let's get it back into this Giants, man. So there's like...
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit about the Nephilim and the Anunnaki and all that stuff.
Oh, well, it's actually... so all that stuff you would consider, like, Jewish, right, I guess?
Yeah.
But it's
Sumerian.
Jewish people actually... this is before Noah was supposed to be part of the Aryan tribe.
Yeah.
But before Egypt, you had Zoroaster, and before that, you had like all the Vedic Hindu stuff. So that's why and then I think either before that, because I think what had happened is everyone landed in Iraq, right?
Yeah.
I think Turkey and Iraq were one of the points for one of the civilizations. I don't know which one. I can just say it's the motherfuckers that lived in the rocks. But the Hopi Indians, same fucking time frame as the Turkish motherfuckers that lived in the rocks.
Oh yeah.
Same shit.
They do, and they talk like a lot of Native Americans here in the North America all have names for giants, bro. Similar to like Bigfoot, they have like hundreds of names for Bigfoot. Like Comanche, the Choctaw, the Cherokee, and Navajo, they all have their own names for giants, bro. And they all describe them here in the States as like white men with red hair. They're like tall gingers, bro. Yeah.
You know, that's funny because like I tell people, I'm like, yeah, and people are gonna get pissed off when they finally like realize, holy shit, white dudes were here before anybody else. You know what I mean? But it's like, well, technically, yeah, but they were cool. They weren't dicks. You know, they traded and shit.
I don't know, man. They're not those BFGs, those big friendly giants. They're fucking. They said they were cannibals and shit. They were at war with them all the time.
Oh no, that's like the Native Americans. That's who they had to kill.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
they killed them. Like the thing is, like a lot of the people that you would see with blonde hair and blue eyes, those were the royalty. And it's not just like, oh, that was considered beauty. That like, you can't just change your genetics. You know what I mean? They were part of a lineage.
Yeah.
And that's that, like, well, you know, I guess technically Aryans, but the Aryans were like darker skinned. But it had nothing to do with like, it's not really genetics in the way you think about it. It's a different time. The way the Earth's frequency is the way that your genetics unfold. It's really weird to say. It's like everything's predestined. Everything's already in your DNA. Everything's already happened.
Yeah.
It's already in your DNA. It's like a ticking time bomb.
It's like a code.
If you're supposed to have a heart attack, that's going to go. You're going to get cancer, that's going to go. You're going to, you know.
Yeah.
In situations, if you're going to die, it's already, you know, proposed. Like everything's set out already for you to. Everything's already happened.
Yeah.
You're just realizing it. Like I studied a bunch of like Kabbalistic like stuff, and yeah, it was like, but it proves, well, not proves, but it proposes that there are different dimensions. And funny enough, the giants are supposedly from one of those dimensions.
That's just.
Here's the thing. Okay.
Probably Bigfoot too.
There's well, I mean, he comes from I mean,
I think Bigfoot.
Hold on.
Bigfoot's like the runt of the giants. He's probably one of those people that like the black sheep. They just kicked out of the family, you know, and he's wandering the fucking planet
alone. He's the drunk guy at a party.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, shit. If you're walking on ice, you might as well dance.
Oh God, it's fucking Bigfoot again.
So there's 365 dimensions, and Abraxas controls all 365 of those dimensions. And there's a number of those that could house many different species, giants, you know, all this.
Are those sub-dimensions or like the primary dimensions?
Those are the primary. Those are the primary dimensions, and there could be like satellite or sub dimensions off of those potentially, but I mean.
Well, they do say Bigfoot's an interdimensional alien.
Yes, that is.
360 usually it goes by the way of like 360. That's like would be the circle, and even then, like if you look at the Mayan calendar, like I was looking at it, and they were saying, well, technically, there aren't. What was it? There's not supposed to be a leap year. Like all the days are supposed to have fucking 30.
Yeah.
But some of them have a leap year, some have fucking 31, and some have 30 and shit.
Do you want to know why? Because we're on a Gregorian calendar.
Gregorian calendar. Yeah, the thing said the same shit. It was like for shipping purposes and stupid shit. So technically, you know, even 2012, I forgot when it's supposed to be, but by the Gregorian calendar, we're kind of fucked up on that end, you know. It has to do with what you see in the sky. You can't go by time. Time doesn't fucking exist.
Correct.
Time doesn't exist. Space does. Well, space exists technically, but it only exists because you view it.
Yeah, time is a human construct. You can only measure.
Yeah, it's the human. That's where adhering off the dimensions of the giants. But see, this goes in context with it because the giants all knew this shit. That's how they were able to survive for so fucking long.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, have you ever heard of
They were able to.
I'm sorry.
They were able to beat the shit out of the flood. You know, that's that mud flood. That's what happened. Is that giant catastrophe? There's rock carvings of giants wrestling with. I mean, they say they're fake, but when you have dinosaurs in Angkor Wat, you know, like Stegosaurus, like popping up right there, and then you have a high. Like, who's gonna build something like that with copper? Come on.
That's
dude.
what I was gonna say. Let's talk about some of the evidence shown. Like, I know the Homer in Greek mythology. Homer talked about the Odyssey, and he talked about Cyclops and giants, right?
Well,
but hold on. You think of that as like a poem or something, right? It's like a work of fiction, right? But he wrote the Iliad, which talked about Helen of Troy, the place of Troy, and they found that place is real. You know what I mean? So maybe there is some truth behind these stories.
And all these things. I mean, even stuff like the Book of Enoch, the Epic of Gilgamesh, a wild man, a giant.
And if you look at the Anunnakis, the Sumerian texts, like those whatever carvings or pictures, the pictographs they have and shit, they have the Anunnaki fucking huge, and like the people coming to them, they are small. So they depicted them as giants as well,
larger than life.
Now
the other thing too is like you want to talk about like evidence and stuff.
Everything needs to be bigger in prehistory. If you discount the fact that people say, "Oh, there weren't humans in the dinosaur age," okay, even though there are footprints that prove otherwise, fuck it, we'll say okay, you know, whatever. if humans were alive back then, and you've seen what dinosaurs basically turned into now, you know what I mean? Who's to say a human wouldn't be fucking huge?
It's possible. I mean, talking about kind of piggybacking off what you're talking about, evidence-wise, one thing that I've always heard is actually through multiple reports, and it's one of those things where the story really never changes or seems embellished. There's a story, and I'm paraphrasing here, but there's a story of these these American soldiers, I guess, and something was fucking some shit up out in a military base or something regarding that. Long story short, they send this American military crew to go fuck up whatever it is
Afghanistan,
and they don't hear back, so they send another crew out to see what's up and they call it this Kandahar Giant case. And there's this giant, I think it was similar description of what you said. Tall, white, red hair. He had 2 rows of teeth,
and he was hungry, bro. He was like, fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of American. Or whatever the fuck.
And dude,
America.
The story goes, he ran out and impaled somebody and lifted him over his head.
If they are, we all be dead.
And, the guy was like impaled in something, and the other people just basically decapitated the giant, supposedly. I know that was a pretty famous story that made its rounds.
And I seen I don't know what, I think it's Michael Cremo with Forbidden Archaeology or something. He talked about
Michael Cremo.
Yeah, I think he talked about like a footprint on the side of a wall, like a giant footprint.
Oh, the giant footprint.
Yeah, that's interesting, bro.
See, look at it this way: with the Earth being shooken up and shit, it says like he had put his foot in mud, right?
Yeah.
That mud got fossilized.
Mm-hmm.
If that chunk of whatever ended up breaking, it would end up as a fucking rock like that. You know what I mean? Like, somebody didn't just come up and kick a rock wall, but the way that it's on a rock. And you think about it, when you push the zit out and the zit's like really it's like a blackhead and it's really stiff. You know what I mean? It's just like, whoop. I think that's what the rock basically did. Like, it was under, and then after a while it just got pushed up by the terrain. And yeah, man, it's I mean, there's different giant footprints, and that's what people are like. Shit, my bad. Sorry, I just finished eating. My bad.
No, that's cool.
That's like people are like, oh, well, I guess this is a giant footprint too, or I guess this is a footprint. It's like, well, why don't they pick a size of giant? It's like, well, there are different fucking sizes of giants. It's like there's different sizes of people. You want every person that's a human to have a size 10?
No.
And they claim about finding bodies, like these archaeological digs, and if they do find the bodies, they're taken away. They say the Smithsonian, the fucking Vatican, and people like that are behind that, behind the truth or whatever being revealed about.
Well, and that would make sense because, I mean, I know this kind of gets off topic a little bit. I mean, it all ties back in, very nicely, I think. But it all makes sense, because if that were to, if all the stories are true about how if it were to get out, how the Vatican, created the story many years ago, thousands of centuries ago, and this is just a timeline we've been on. If something were to happen or some piece of evidence were to expose something that would say, hey, the timeline and what you thought was real is actually totally wrong. I mean, whatever the case is, and I think that would just not shatter humanity, but I think it would fuck a lot of people up, and it would fuck a lot of these lizard people up, and a lot of their plans on what they want to do as far as the New World Order and shit like that. Yeah. I really do, dude.
And especially if you got like one religion stating there's giants, and then you got that just kind of proves that maybe this religion is correct. You know what I mean? And that kind of makes other religious people or other religions around the world kind of be like.
Think about it this way: if they're from another dimension, and if okay, like with my thing that I'm making, I got the idea too from Futurama. They're like the ship doesn't go anywhere; it moves space and time around it. So what I'm doing is the way that UFOs are supposed to work is that there's it has its own electromagnetic field, so it cancels out the electromagnetic field. Gravitational field of the Earth, that being an interaction between dielectricity and magnetism, I think. Yeah. Or some shit. So that's what I'm trying to do with this. I'm trying to get out of. I'm gonna have to put. I'm assuming like a kind of Faraday cage. I'm gonna have to make it like a Faraday cage. to where it takes everything. Like nothing goes out and everything stays contained. Because I totally need to not have all the interference and bullshit. Because if you were to see how many fucking radio frequencies were everywhere, dude, you would flip the fuck out. It would be like the worst game of like trying to get through a laser and shit. It'd be unbelievable. Like I have an EMF device, like shit. People use them for ghosts. I use them to check the electromagnetic energy to make sure it's safe on the electromagnets and regular magnets. But like, I forgot what I was talking about. Shit.
Have you ever?
That
have you
happens
ever?
on the podcast sometimes, man.
Like like we talk about. So we've talked pretty in depth about how to emit these types of wavelengths and frequencies. Have you ever done any like research or like anything into something that might block? Like like say for instance, like one of those like RDFI blocking bags or whatever the fuck that you put your
copper.
Like
copper.
you put like your credit card or your phone in, and it's supposed to stop.
Copper. I have tape. It's copper tape, and I had to put that on the bottom of the device thing because there was electromagnetic frequencies from the shakers. They're basically electromagnets that get shaken around at the frequency of the current. So it shakes pretty intensely on the bottom, that giving you the like full body shake. You know what I mean? Not just like you're sitting down or something. Like you're laying down in a comfortable box. I mean, it feels. And another thing too is I want to mention that the box makes you feel very vulnerable. Like you're in the box, and the whole time I was thinking, I'm like, Jesus Christ,
What's
if
in the
somebody wanted
box?
to come and stab me,
Yeah.
I'd be fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're there. But what it does is it breaks down your brain, and it breaks down the fear thing. And you get over that when you make that jump in transitional thinking. There's this other dimensional thought process that opens up. And when it does that, it's like you're able to see things a different way, and that changes your brain wavelength. So the actual energy leaving your brain changes, plus your outlook on something changes. And we know from quantum physics that if you do something, the observer effect, you know what I mean? You can have a direct effect on it.
Hell yeah.
So all that shit changes. And I believe that when you do that, you transfer to another dimension. And other people are stuck in lower dimensions, but you guys are able to see each other. That's where fucking conflicts arise. That's it. And people are thinking like, people don't realize it's this simple. You know what I mean? There are dimensions that are more complex. Absolutely.
And that's where the giants come from.
Yeah, man. Like they vibrate out of a frequency and into this one. I mean, it's not that hard. You literally just have to vibrate at that frequency, and you fucking like radio being tuned with a quartz crystal. I might add, you tune in to it, and then you're there. You're at that frequency to listen to that music. You vibrate your whole body. You're going at your molecules and everything else is going to vibrate. You blast that with supposedly a microwave blast. I don't know how that fucking works, but suppose that's what they use for the pyramid. It takes the radiation from the star, since you can see the light emission. It's technically radiation, cosmic radiation, and it takes it in, and it's supposed to let it out. What I want to know is why that the shaft in the King's Chamber is pointed towards the Alniac star in Orion.
I don't know, man. They're trying to fucking. That's what's going on, bro. They're trying to bring Orion back, bro, through those dimensions, and you're helping them, Mike.
I think they sent it there. I think what had happened is, and this is really weird, dude. It was meant as a power plant. I know that.
Yeah.
Like the way it works, it was meant for a power plant. But there's something about pyramid means fire in the middle. It's a mixture of fire, and medios. It's Greek for middle. Pyramidios. Pyramid. And so that means there's some intense fire going on or something inside the King's Chamber because it's in the middle. And supposedly what happens is they take the cosmic radiation from the outside that goes through the tunnel. The whole thing is just a giant vibrating fucking structure. And it supposedly let out an emission towards the top that went to the sun. And then it opened up some weird shit that canceled out in the ionosphere. It transmitted like HARP. It was basically HARP, but with a fucking pyramid. That's why there are pyramids going along the same axis around the same time with the same fucking well, lack of a better word, hieroglyphs and shit.
Damn,
You know,
that's interesting.
like I think they were able to communicate through because Garden, if you look there, they had a giant thing that it was like I guess like a battery or something. I think these places were machines. They used the sun as a fucking power source, and you know it helped. I like an initiation chamber kind of and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no writings in the pyramids. The structure is pristine. I mean, geez, like looking at it, I can see how it was made as a machine. Not saying that like, oh, it looks cool. It was made as a machine. No, hell no. I've gone through the mechanics of it, and yeah, man, it would legitimately work. And even to the small slits that regulate the flow of whatever chemicals inside to produce hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hydrogen, they use hydrogen. The first chemical or the first element, in the chemical periodic table.
Yeah.
And not only that, they're using quartz. They use electricity. And the whole thing's a giant acoustic resonator. So it takes that, and then there's 3 step up right above the king's chamber. There's 5 chambers, right?
Yeah.
And that supposedly steps up the vibrations, like capacitors almost. Like it would fill up with a vibration, go to the next one, ring it as harmonic, go to the next one, read it another harmonic, next one another harmonic, and just kind of blast up towards the sky with a bunch of radiant energy from the earth. And they've proven those things exist. They're these weird fucking electromagnetic wormholes almost that go to the sun. You can Google it. It's worth the Google.
It's worth the Google. Yeah, man. I was reading too the Navajo. They talked about giants, and they're the Starnake people, whatever, the white giants, and they were they also described them as mining technology, and they were enslaving lesser tribes and stuff. So these giants were actually pretty handy when it came to fucking technology or some shit. So yeah, man, it could be.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, if you can make humans, you know how to make structures.
Yeah.
Those are biological masons, Freemasons, or Masons. Shit.
Well, shit, man. Well, that's it, man. I gotta go. I gotta say some giants and try to get it in. I see the attack of the 50-foot woman's out there right now. I'm gonna go fucking knock her up.
The tag of the $50 pizza.
Yeah. But
this has been very interesting, and it has definitely illuminated kind of a lot regarding just giants and wavelengths and frequencies. And I still don't know what the fuck's up with vibrators. I mean, I don't know what that's about.
well, that's what it is. That's what the pyramid is, bro. It's a fucking giant vibrator. It just sits on it.
Yeah, it's a giant vibrator, and it gets the Earth off.
Gotcha.
And then the Earth blows the serial load all over the sun, and the sun barfs it all over the Earth.
I don't know.
That's what's up.
Africa does look kind of like a clit.
Anybody want a peanut? Yeah! Love me.